All worldviews promise knowledge, but do they deliver true knowledge or false knowledge? Now, before the fact checkers tear apart my question, let me say a quick word to my philosopher friends. Given the standard definitions, I concede up front that false knowledge is an oxymoron. But for this video, I'm using the language of false knowledge in a non-technical sense to emphasize that sometimes what we confidently accept as fact is really false. In everyday language, we might say that some worldviews promise knowledge, but deliver false belief or misinformation. With that disclaimer in mind, let me answer the question about true knowledge or false knowledge by looking at this world map. Based on what you see, do you know which country covers the most square miles or square meters? Pause for a second and think about it. What did you decide? Did you pick Greenland or maybe Russia or Canada? Check out this animation, which shrinks down each country into these dark blue regions that represent the actual square miles. Does this animation change your answer? If so, what can we say about this map? Does the original map with the light blue regions offer a false knowledge, or is it a true picture of the real world? To answer this question, we need to understand the map's purpose. In 1569, Gerardus Mercator created this revolutionary map on a projection of the Earth's surface onto a cylinder. This cylinder was then flattened out to make a two-dimensional representation of the world, which, as most of us know, is not a flat Earth, but in fact a three-dimensional globe. This process of cylindrical projection, however, distorts the lands farther away from the equator because, as this equation shows, lands closer to the north and south poles are necessarily stretched out. As a result of this Mercator scaling, Greenland appears to be roughly the same size as continental Africa, while in reality, Africa is more than 14 times larger than Greenland. So why would Mercator create such a map? His goal for this map was to improve the ability of sailors to travel safely across the globe, where plotting a course by measuring the angle between the horizon and the stars was more critical than an accurate representation of relative landmass. Given this backdrop, we can conclude that the Mercator map is a true picture of the world, but only when we know its original purpose. If we try to use this map for a purpose outside of its design, then we end up with a false picture of the world. But keep in mind, this false picture is not because the map itself is wrong. It's because our worldview led us to misuse the map. So what does our thought experiment with the Mercator map teach us about worldviews and the concepts of truth and knowledge? It teaches us that just because we perceive that Greenland is bigger than Australia doesn't make it true. It tells us that truth is more than our dreams, our sense experience, our politics, our feelings, or even our cultural consensus. Truth is only that which corresponds to reality. Working from this basic idea of truth, knowledge is the warranted true belief in anything that is real. This definition includes three important words: warrant, truth, and belief. Let me illustrate this definition of knowledge using a chair. On any given day, when you walk into a room and sit down, at what point do you know that the chair will hold you? Pause for a second and think about it. Did you say, when I walk into the room, I know right away that the chair will hold me? If you did, you're wrong. You don't know the chair will hold you until you actually sit down. So while you don't yet have knowledge, you do have warrant or evidence that the chair will most likely hold you when you sit on it. This warrant comes from your experience sitting on chairs 10,000 other times, your experience watching others sit in the same chair, and your subconscious visual inspection of the chair's construction. Each of these evidences gives you confidence that the chair will hold you, but you still don't have knowledge. Your warrant, however, does inspire belief. Based on the evidence, you then have the confidence to sit in the chair. But even in the microseconds before your bum touches the chair, you still don't have knowledge. Your evidence, which leads to action, becomes knowledge only when you sit and the chair actually holds you up. When the chair does its job, then you have a warranted true belief that corresponds to the reality of the chair's integrity. It's here, at the intersection of warrant and belief and truth, that we find knowledge. With these basic definitions of truth and knowledge in mind, it's easier to see while every worldview promises knowledge, most of them just can't deliver. And the only way to know which worldview won't deceive you is to test it. To that end, ask yourself these questions. How is the Mercator map like a worldview? Does the Christian worldview offer a true picture that is true knowledge of our world? What is the warrant for your belief?